Billionaire tech CEO hires girl on contract for triplets, finds out she's a virgin, and falls in love. He didn't want a wife. He didn't want love. He just wanted an heir. So, he hired a young woman to bear him children. But what he didn't expect was her innocence. And what he never planned was falling in love. When the man who pays you to bear his children suddenly cradles you like you're his world, how can you still believe this was only about business? She was a virgin. He was a billionaire tech giant. He built machines, not relationships. But now, he can't build a future without her. Now let me ask you, do you believe love can grow from a contract? And more importantly, could you trust someone who offered you the world, but not their heart? Comment your thoughts below. Have you ever loved someone you weren't supposed to? Let's talk about it in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if this story already has your heart racing. Now let's begin. Lily Hart didn't belong in that building. At least that's what her trembling hands kept trying to convince her. Knight Innovations towered above downtown like a monument to impossible success. Sleek, sharp-edged, and unforgiving. Just like the man who built it. And here she was, a small-town waitress in her second-hand shoes, sitting in the reception area that shimmered with chrome and glass. Her purse was old and fraying. Her nails, short and bare. Her nerves, threadbare. But her reason for being there was everything. Her father's kidneys were failing. His last hope, a procedure far beyond anything their insurance would touch. Lily had tried everything, crowdfunding, double shifts, loans she'd never pay back. And then she saw the ad. Private contract, confidential arrangement, life-changing compensation, no experience required. It sounded outrageous, like the kind of thing you forward to friends as a joke. But she'd clicked. She'd applied, and now she was here. The assistant, cold and polished, opened the mahogany door and gave a nod. "Mr. Knight will see you now." Lily stood on unsteady legs. Her breath caught. This was it. No turning back. Inside, the office was all steel, glass, and power. Every detail whispered control, from the minimalist art to the floor-to-ceiling windows. And there, standing in that gleam of sunlight like it bowed to him, was Adrian Knight. He didn't look up right away. He stood at the window, his back straight, his hands in the pockets of a perfectly tailored suit. Dark hair, broad shoulders, presence that felt like gravity. When he turned, Lily's throat tightened. He was devastating. Not just handsome, controlled, intense. Eyes the color of a gathering storm. Sharp jaw. No smile. "Miss Hart," he said simply, as if reading the name from her bones. "Yes," she whispered. "Lily Hart." He offered a handshake. His palm engulfed hers, warm and firm. Just one shake, then release. "Please, sit." She obeyed, her knees brushing the soft leather of the chair. Across the desk, Adrian sat. Measured. Observant. "I assume," he began, "you're aware this is not a typical position." Lily nodded, her voice barely audible. The ad was vague. Deliberately, he steepled his fingers. "I require something highly specific, personal, intimate." A beat of silence. "I'm in need of an heir," he continued, as casually as if ordering lunch. "Several, ideally. And I have neither the time nor the inclination for courtship or marriage." Lily's breath caught. Was he saying he wanted to hire her to? "I seek a contractual partner," he said plainly. "To live at my estate, maintain discretion, and carry my children." Children. Plural. She blinked rapidly. "How?" She started, then faltered. "I mean, how would this work?" Adrian leaned back slightly. Naturally, the word hit like a spark to dry tinder. Lily's eyes widened. No labs, no doctors. He meant, with him. Heat bloomed in her chest, rising to her cheeks. I thought this might be surrogacy, not a relationship," he supplied, one brow arching. "It won't be one, at least not in the conventional sense. You'll be compensated generously. You'll want for nothing. Your medical care, your housing, your family's needs, all covered." She swallowed. "And how many triplets?" Her hand flew to her chest. "Triplets? If nature allows," Adrian said with an easy calm. "I have no expectation, but I'd prefer the children be close in age. A single birth of multiple children would be ideal. Naturally, we'll follow where biology leads." Lily sat frozen. His voice, low and even, made the whole thing sound clinical, and yet something in his gaze, the way it lingered on her lips, the flicker in his eyes when she'd walked in, betrayed a different kind of interest. "You're young," he said quietly. "Healthy, unmarried, the medical profile was strong. No previous pregnancies?" She shook her head. "None." He paused. "You're a virgin, aren't you?" Lily's heart dropped into her stomach. She couldn't lie. Not now. Yes. Something shifted in Adrian's gaze. He didn't smile, but attention left his shoulders. A strange, unreadable look crossed his face. Approval, perhaps. Maybe even relief. "That simplifies things," he said. Lily didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Why me?" she asked softly. "Surely someone more polished would have accepted." "Because they want me," Adrian replied. "They see my money, my name, you. You see something else, or nothing at all, which I prefer." Lily's voice wavered. "And if I say no?" He gave a half shrug. "Then we part ways, no harm done. You'll be escorted out with a generous thank you payment for your time." It was that simple. Or so he made it seem. But she wasn't here for curiosity. She was here for her father, for her family, for a future. Lily straightened. "And the contract?" Adrian opened a drawer and slid forward a thin folder. Inside was more money than Lily had ever seen spelled out on paper. Her hands trembled as she scanned the offer. "Half upon agreement, half upon confirmed pregnancy," he said. "And if I don't conceive, then you'll be released, but compensated for your time." Lily closed the folder. She looked up at him. "I need to go home," she said. "I need to get my things." Adrian nodded once. "My driver is downstairs." As she rose to leave, he stood too. "One last thing," he said. "Should you agree, there will be no turning back." His voice was soft, but layered with something else. Not threat, not command. A promise, maybe. Lily nodded, her stomach in knots. "I understand." But even as she left the office, escorted back through the gleaming halls, her mind was racing. Somewhere beneath the practicality of the offer, the paperwork, the clauses, the medical arrangements, something stirred, a feeling she hadn't expected. It wasn't fear, not quite. It was something far more dangerous. Hope. The car that collected Lily that evening didn't just take her to a new address, it transported her into another universe. The driver, impeccably dressed and silent, opened the door of the sleek black town car with a nod. Lily climbed in, her overnight bag clutched tightly in her lap, fingers digging into the worn canvas. They pulled away from her shabby apartment without fanfare. She didn't look back. She'd left behind more than an address. She'd left behind an old version of herself. The girl who waited tables, who budgeted rice and coupons, who cried herself to sleep wondering if her father would survive another month. Now she was headed toward something unfathomable. Adrian Knight's estate wasn't just a house. It was a world unto itself, carved into the hills above the city like a fortress of glass and stone. Massive gates parted as the car approached, revealing a winding drive lined with flickering lanterns and trimmed hedges so precise they'd look painted. The mansion loomed in the distance, lit from within like a beacon. Lily's breath caught. Every window glowed warm against the indigo dusk. It looked like something out of a fantasy, serene, intimidating, and utterly untouchable. Until now. When the car stopped, a manservant greeted her by name and opened her door. "Miss Hart, welcome." Inside, the air smelled like lavender and lemon polish. The floors gleamed beneath her feet. Paintings lined the hallways, not mass-produced prints, but real art, with brushstrokes and texture. Chandeliers shimmered overhead. The ceilings soared. Adrian was waiting in the foyer. He wore no tie this time, just a fitted black shirt and tailored pants. Casual, but somehow still commanding. "Lily," he said simply. No formal greetings, no small talk, just her name, but it landed heavy, like a declaration. "Adrian," she replied, surprised by her own voice. He stepped forward. "I trust the ride was smooth?" "Yes, thank you." Her grip on her bag tightened. She felt out of place, like a mismatched ornament in a curated museum. Adrian noticed. "You look overwhelmed." "I feel it," she admitted softly. His eyes held hers. "You're safe here. Nothing will happen without your consent. No one will enter your space. You have your own wing. If you change your mind at any time, you have the right to walk away. But if you choose to stay, I expect honesty, clarity, respect. That's all I ask." Lily nodded, her throat tight. Adrian gestured to a nearby woman in crisp attire. "This is Marianne. She manages the household. She'll show you to your suite." Marianne gave a polite smile. "Right this way, Miss Hart." The walk through the estate was a maze of art, scent, and silence. Marble floors, velvet accents, fireplaces crackling quietly. Even the walls whispered wealth. Her room was not a room. It was a sanctuary. Soft creams and golds, a king-sized bed, a private sitting area. French doors opened onto a garden patio lit by fairy lights. Lily couldn't speak. She simply turned in a slow circle, absorbing the surreal beauty around her. "If you need anything," Marianne said, "just pick up the phone on your nightstand. There's a menu for meals, a schedule for housekeeping, and your closet has been pre-stocked in your sizes." She paused. "And tomorrow morning, a physician will arrive for your first health evaluation. You are not expected to interact with Mr. Knight unless you choose to." Lily blinked. "Oh, all right, thank you." Left alone, she sat on the edge of the bed and inhaled slowly. The sheets smelled of lavender. The silence pressed around her, but not unkindly. She should have felt like a prisoner. But instead, she felt weightless. For the first time in years, she wasn't scraping, begging, surviving. She was somewhere clean, quiet, safe. Dinner was served to her room. Salmon, roasted vegetables, lemon tart. She ate in her robe, barefoot, watching the stars through the patio doors. Every bite tasted surreal. And then came the knock. Not harsh, not hesitant. She opened the door. Adrian stood there. No suit, just slacks and a dark sweater. The man looked softer in this lighting, more human. "I realize this is sudden," he said, "but I thought I might check on you. May I come in?" Lily hesitated for only a second, then stepped aside. "Yes." He walked in, hands in his pockets, gaze roaming the space. "I wanted to be sure you're settling in. I know this isn't a typical arrangement." "No," she said. "It's not." A beat passed. "I had a hard time eating," he said. "My appetite tends to falter when I'm anxious." "You're anxious?" she asked, surprised. Adrian turned to face her. "You're not the only one taking a leap, Lily." She looked away. "I keep asking myself if I'm crazy for saying yes." "You're not." His voice was low. "You're brave." She felt the heat of his gaze. Her heart pounded. There was a moment, still and charged, where neither of them moved. Then he stepped closer. "Lily," he said softly, "if you'd like to postpone the physical part of the arrangement, I'll respect that. This isn't about urgency. It's about readiness." "I understand," she whispered. "But I'm not afraid of you." Adrian's brows lifted slightly. "That's good to hear." "I'm nervous," she added, "but I know why I'm here. And I trust you." That trust lit something behind his eyes, something raw. He moved a little closer, enough that the air changed between them. "Then I'll let you rest," he said, voice hoarse. "Tomorrow is a big day." But neither of them moved. Adrian's hand reached forward, just barely, and brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. "Good night, Lily." "Good night, Adrian." And then, like a man afraid to say too much, he turned and left. The door closed gently behind him. Lily stood alone, heart racing. She touched the spot on her cheek where his fingers had been. This man, this stranger, was building a space in her mind she hadn't expected. A man who'd spoken of her like a contract, but looked at her like a question he wanted to understand. Lily climbed into bed and turned off the light. Outside, the garden lights twinkled like fireflies. Inside, her world was changing forever. The next night fell over the estate like a velvet curtain. Lily stood at the tall mirror in her room, brushing her hair with slow, distracted strokes. Her thoughts raced, heart pulsing in her throat. The doctor had come and gone that morning, clean bill of health, green light for the process to begin. Adrian hadn't spoken a word about it since. But all day, his presence haunted the halls. He passed her once in the corridor, his eyes catching hers, lingering for half a second longer than polite. During lunch, he sat across the table, silent but attentive, like a man observing a star he was afraid to touch. Now, with night pressing in, the air in her suite felt heavy. Anticipation curled through her like smoke. And then, the knock, not timid, Not forceful, intentional. She opened the door. Adrian stood there. No jacket. Shirt unbuttoned at the collar. Sleeves rolled up. His hair slightly tousled, like he'd run a frustrated hand through it 100 times before arriving. "May I come in?" he asked. Lily stepped aside. "Yes." He entered slowly, pausing in the middle of the room, as though unsure how to begin. "I want to ask again," he said gently. "Are you certain about everything?" She nodded. "Yes, I am." Adrian exhaled, a breath of tension leaving his chest. He crossed the room, stopping just in front of her. "You're nervous," he murmured, lifting his hand to brush his fingers along her jaw. "I'm not afraid," she whispered. "Just new to all this." A flicker of warmth softened his expression. "You don't need to pretend for me. This isn't about fulfilling a contract tonight. This is about trust, and I take that seriously." She nodded, heart thudding in her ears. "Then show me." Adrian didn't speak. Instead, he leaned forward and kissed her, slow, reverent, the kind of kiss that asked permission at every turn. His hand cupped the side of her face thumb, grazing her cheek. Her lips parted beneath his, and a quiet sound escaped her throat, half relief, half longing. They stood that way for minutes, letting the kiss deepen, their breathing sink. When Adrian finally pulled back, his eyes were searching. "If you want me to stop, I won't," Lily cut in gently. "I want this." She felt his restraint tremble. He nodded once, then bent again to press a kiss to her temple, then her shoulder, then her collarbone. Piece by piece, Adrian undressed her, not with haste, but with reverence, as if he were unveiling something sacred. Her robe slipped to the floor. She stood in nothing but bare skin and soft candlelight. His breath caught audibly. "You're beautiful." Lily reached up, unbuttoning his shirt with unsteady fingers. Every button was a step toward vulnerability, toward trust, toward the unknown. Soon, his shirt joined her robe. His skin was warm beneath her palms, strong, yet trembling faintly with restraint. When her hand slid over his chest, he sucked in a breath. "You make me feel..." He started, then stopped. "Everything." His lips found hers again, hungrier now. Passion threaded through every kiss. Their bodies moved to the bed, a tangle of warmth and whispers. Lily lay back against the pillows, heart racing. Adrian hovered above her, gaze locked on hers. "I'll be gentle," he said. "I know," she whispered. He kissed down her neck, her chest, trailing warmth in his wake. When his fingers found the heat between her thighs, Lily gasped, her body reacting before her mind could catch up. Her first moan broke the silence, soft, unsure, and achingly honest. "You're so sensitive," he murmured, lips brushing her skin. "So responsive." Her hands fisted in the sheets as he touched her, slow and patient. Pleasure bloomed in gentle waves until her body writhed beneath him. When he finally moved between her legs, she met his gaze with raw trust. "I'm ready," she said, voice barely audible. Adrian guided himself to her entrance, holding her gaze. The first stretch made her gasp. Her hands flew to his arms, fingers digging in. He froze. "Breathe," he murmured. "I've got you." She nodded, swallowing a whimper. He kissed her through it, slow and soothing, until the sharpness eased and she opened for him. Then he moved. Every motion was careful, measured, loving. He made her feel seen, not used, not bought, but wanted. The contract had promised a child, but in this moment, all Lily felt was connection. Her body adjusted, adapted, and then to her surprise, welcomed him. The discomfort faded, replaced by something heady and electric. She arched into him, seeking more. Adrian groaned, the sound of a man unraveling. But even through his rising desire, he didn't lose focus. His touch never left her skin. His kisses never left her mouth. When she gasped again, this time it was different. Pleasure curled deep in her belly, a slow burn rising to a peak. Adrian felt it too. His thrusts grew deeper, more rhythmic. He whispered her name like a promise, like a prayer, and when release took her, sudden, consuming, she cried out, holding him like an anchor. He followed her seconds later, releasing into her with a groan torn from his chest. His body trembled above hers. For a moment, the world stilled. Then silence, heavy breathing, soft skin, two bodies tangled in afterglow. Adrian didn't pull away. He held her close, face buried in her neck, arms wrapped tight. "You okay?" he asked, voice hoarse. She nodded against his shoulder. More than okay. A soft chuckle escaped him. He kissed her again, slow and tired and full of something he didn't dare name. They lay that way for a long time, not speaking, just holding. Eventually, Adrian rose and pulled the covers over them. He gathered Lily against him, her head resting on his chest. "I never expected this," he said quietly. "Neither did I," she whispered back. But in the quiet of that night, Lily knew something had changed. It wasn't just a contract anymore. It was the beginning of something they didn't yet understand, but already couldn't live without. Weeks passed like petals falling from a hidden clock. Lily hadn't meant to fall into a rhythm with Adrian, but somewhere between their evening walks and shared breakfasts, something took root. He was still the man who had hired her, still precise, still powerful, still wrapped in suits and silences. But with her, he softened. He listened. He remembered the way she liked her, tea and the stories she told about her father's garden. He noticed when her laugh didn't reach her eyes, and when her smile stayed too long after a private thought. And in the quiet nights, he came to her, never demanding, always asking. They touched often now, not just for the contract, but because being apart felt incomplete. He would trail his fingertips along her back while she drifted off. She would kiss the edge of his jaw before he left her room at dawn. These small moments, once awkward, now felt natural, familiar, but never once did either of them say what they were thinking. Not out loud. Lily didn't dare ask what this was between them, because asking meant defining it, and defining it might destroy the illusion. She wasn't ready for that. She told herself to be grateful. After all, she'd accepted the deal knowing exactly what it was. And still, sometimes in the middle of the night, she caught him watching her as if he were memorizing her. That had to mean something, didn't it? One crisp afternoon, after a brief appointment with the private physician Adrian had assigned her, Lily walked through the east wing toward his office. She hadn't told him yet, but the doctor believed she might already be pregnant. The thought made her both ecstatic and terrified. She carried the news like a secret flame in her chest, unsure when or how to let it out. As she approached his office, she paused. His door was slightly ajar, and voices floated out. She recognized Adrian's, calm, controlled. The other belonged to Mr. Lang, the sharply dressed legal advisor she'd met once in passing. "The terms are very clear," Lang was saying. "Once the children are born, she's entitled to the final installment and the property transfer you mentioned." "Yes," Adrian said. "I want her taken care of." "And afterward?" Lang asked. "What's the plan if she chooses to stay?" A long silence. Then Adrian's voice, quiet, almost unreadable. "She's free to go." That was always the agreement. And if she doesn't want to go? Adrian didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his words were even. "Then, I'll deal with it then." Lily felt something crack deep in her chest. She backed away quietly, shoes muffled by the thick carpet. Her hands were trembling. The walls of the estate suddenly felt colder, taller, not like a home, but a holding place. She ran, not out of the house, but back to her room, her sanctuary, her prison. Inside, she shut the door behind her and pressed her back to it. He meant to let her go. He hadn't said a single word about wanting her to stay. Not her, just the children. He hadn't said her name once in that conversation. Lily sat on the edge of the bed, wrapping her arms around herself. The world tilted. She thought of the way he held her, the way he kissed her wrist absent-mindedly during breakfast, the way his voice went soft whenever he said goodnight. It felt real, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just Adrian being a good host, a respectful partner, a man fulfilling a transaction with kindness. And she was falling in love, not just with the mansion, or the meals, or the relief from poverty, with him. And it shattered her. That night, she didn't come down for dinner. Adrian knocked once, but she pretended to be asleep. She lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, hands resting on her stomach. If the doctor was right, life was already growing inside her, but her heart felt hollow. She remembered the way Adrian's hands had cradled her face, the way he whispered her name when they made love. Had it all been just part of the arrangement? Was she just a means to an end? Lily turned her face into the pillow and cried silently. She didn't know how long she lay there, but eventually her breathing slowed, the tears dried, and a new resolve began to take shape. If all of this, the comfort, the warmth, the intimacy, was only temporary, then she had to prepare herself. She would protect her heart, for the sake of her unborn child, for her own dignity. No more illusions. She would fulfill the contract. And when the time came, when she delivered those children, she would walk away with her head held high, even if it broke her. By nightfall, Lily had made up her mind. She'd avoided Adrian all day, skipped lunch, canceled her usual walk in the garden, stayed tucked away behind the tall doors of her suite. Her body was still, but her mind never stopped. Every time she looked in the mirror, she saw a woman breaking quietly. She'd imagined telling Adrian about the pregnancy with joy. She'd pictured his arms wrapping around her, his voice warm with pride. But now, she couldn't risk it. Not when she knew he saw the end before it ever truly began. So she packed. She didn't have much. A few dresses, some shoes, the jewelry he'd bought her. She left those in the drawer. This wasn't about money. It never had been. The small suitcase sat half-filled on the bed when the door opened. She hadn't locked it. Maybe she wanted to be caught. Adrian stood in the doorway, eyes scanning the scene. Suitcase, tear-streaked cheeks, trembling hands. "Lily," he said, voice tight. "What are you doing?" She froze. Then she straightened her spine. "I'm leaving." Adrian stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. "Why?" She swallowed. "Because I can't stay here pretending anymore." He moved closer, confusion flickering across his face. "Pretending?" She nodded, chest rising and falling too quickly. "You've been kind, Adrian, gentle, but I heard you. I heard what you said to your lawyer." Realization dawned in his eyes. "I was walking by your office," she continued, voice shaking. "I wasn't eavesdropping. I heard you say that once the children are born, I can go, that the deal will be fulfilled, that I owe you nothing." "Lily." "No," she cut in. "Let me finish." She turned to face him fully. "I gave you everything, my body, my trust, my heart, and maybe I shouldn't have, maybe that was my mistake, but I believed in what we were building." Her voice cracked. "I thought maybe I wasn't just a part of the contract, that maybe you saw me. But I was wrong." Adrian's jaw clenched. "You weren't wrong. Then why did you sound so ready to let me go?" She whispered, like it wouldn't matter either way. He took a step forward. "Because I thought you would want to go." Her breath caught. "I never wanted to trap you here," he said, voice low. "I told myself this was a business deal because I was afraid if I asked for more, you'd leave." Lily blinked. "What?" "I've been falling for you every single day, Lily," he confessed. "From the first time you smiled at me over that ridiculous herbal tea, from the way you looked at my home like it wasn't impressive, just unfamiliar, from the night you told me you trusted me." She stood frozen, suitcase forgotten. "I meant every touch," Adrian said. "Every kiss. And when you stayed silent this morning, I thought maybe you were pulling away, so I braced myself. I told Lang to prepare the final terms. Not because I wanted you to leave, but because I couldn't bear the thought of forcing you to stay." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "I thought I was just convenient to you," she whispered. "Someone to give you the children you wanted." "You were never just that," he said, stepping closer. "Not for a single moment." Lily let out a shaky breath. "Then why didn't you say anything?" "Because I was scared," he admitted. "Scared of ruining the only real thing I've ever had." She stared at him, searching his face. "So what do we do now?" He stepped forward and gently took her hands. "I want you to stay," he said, voice soft but firm. "Not because of a contract, not because of the babies, but because I love you." Lily's lips parted. "You love me?" He nodded, eyes glistening. "I love you, Lily Hart. I didn't expect it, I didn't plan it, but it happened, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I love you too," she whispered. "I tried to hide it, I tried to protect myself, but I fell for you, Adrian. I fell hard." Relief crashed over his face. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly, like he never wanted to let go. "I'm pregnant," she whispered into his chest. "The doctor thinks it might be twins, maybe even 3. Adrian froze. Then he pulled back to look at her. "Are you serious?" She nodded, a small smile breaking through. He laughed, breathless and disbelieving, then kissed her fiercely. "You've given me everything," he whispered against her lips. "Now let me give you everything in return." He lifted her effortlessly and carried her to the bed, laying her down with reverence. This time, they didn't make love out of obligation or fear or desire. This time, they moved with certainty, with emotion, with everything left unspoken now spoken aloud. They lost themselves in each other, slow, deep, real. Afterward, they lay together in the stillness, wrapped in each other's arms. No more confusion, no more hiding, just truth, just love. 6 months later, Lily lay on the padded table of the private clinic, fingers entwined with Adrian's. The ultrasound room was warm and quiet, humming softly with the sound of machines and anticipation. Adrian sat beside her, suit jacket off, sleeves rolled to the elbow. His grip on her hand was firm, steady, but the slight tremor in his thumb gave him away. They had been here before, for scans, checkups, blood work, but today was different. Today, the technician was looking for confirmation. Three little heartbeats. The screen flickered to life as the wand glided gently across Lily's rounded stomach. Gel shimmered under the lights. And then, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lily exhaled shakily, tears already gathering. "There they are," the technician said with a soft smile. 3 strong, steady heartbeats. "Your triplets are healthy, growing exactly as they should." Adrian let out a sound, something between a laugh and a gasp. He leaned forward, staring at the monitor like it was a miracle painted in light. Lily turned her head to look at him. His face said it all. Wonder, love, awe. "You okay?" she whispered. He didn't take his eyes off the screen. "I've never been better." When the scan ended, Adrian helped her sit up, careful and attentive. His hand rested protectively on her lower back as they walked out together. In the hallway, he stopped. "Wait," he said. Lily turned, confused, and then he dropped to his knees. Before she could react, his hand slid over her belly, and he pressed his lips to the gentle swell. "Hey there," he whispered. "I know we haven't officially met yet, but your mom and I can't wait to see your faces." Her throat tightened. Adrian looked up at her, his expression soft, humbled. "They'll know love. From the first second, I swear it." Lily cupped his face. "They already do." They left the clinic hand in hand, the world outside bathed in golden spring light. 2 months earlier, they'd been married in a small, quiet ceremony at the estate. Just close friends, a garden in bloom, and vows that didn't come from lawyers, but from their hearts. Lily wore a simple ivory dress and carried nothing but a single lily stem. Adrian's eyes never left her once. And now, with their family growing faster than either of them could have imagined, everything that had once felt transactional had become deeply, beautifully personal. Back at the estate, the nursery was already underway. 3 cribs, hand-painted in soft colors. Storybooks filled a shelf by the window. A rocking chair stood in the corner, just waiting. That evening, Lily and Adrian sat on the terrace, wrapped in a blanket, a warm tea steaming between them. "Do you ever think about how it started?" she asked softly. Adrian gave a low laugh. "Every day. I was scared," she admitted. "So was I," he said, squeezing her hand. "I just wore better armor." She leaned against him. "It doesn't feel like a contract anymore." "It never was," Adrian replied. "Not really. It was a beginning." Lily smiled. The wind rustled through the vines above them, and the stars blinked to life overhead. "I used to think love had to look a certain way," she whispered. "But I was wrong." Adrian kissed her temple. "Love looks like this." 3 lives were growing inside her. Their family was forming, not through perfect planning, but through a leap of faith, a series of risks, and a tenderness neither of them expected. Lily no longer wondered if she'd been hired or chosen. She knew. She had been loved. And now, she was home. The morning sun crept gently across the bedroom curtains as Lily stirred beneath the soft sheets. A light flutter danced low in her belly, not just from nerves, but from movement. A tiny shift. A kick. She smiled without opening her eyes. Adrian was still asleep beside her, his arm draped protectively around her waist, his breath warm against her neck. He'd fallen asleep reading baby names aloud, his voice slowing, his fingers brushing her skin until the pages slipped from his hands and sleep pulled him under. She turned to face him now, studying the quiet strength etched into his sleeping face. He looked so different from the man who had once stood across a glass desk, talking about heirs and arrangements. That man had been guarded, steel-bound, Strategic. This man, the one snoring softly into her hair, was unguarded, vulnerable, full of quiet affection and the kind of joy that could never be written into a contract. And it had taken everything, the fear, the risk, the broken moments, to reach this peace. She kissed his forehead softly and slipped out of bed, padding barefoot toward the balcony where the morning was unfolding. The sky was flushed with golden pinks. The gardens below were waking up, dew glistening on rose petals and hedges. The scent of spring curled upward like a blessing. Lily wrapped her arms around her belly and closed her eyes. 3 heartbeats, 3 lives inside her, and one outside, still learning how to love himself as deeply as he'd grown to love her. The journey hadn't been simple. Adrian hadn't become a husband overnight. He didn't always know how to talk about emotion, not in the way she did. But he tried. He listened. He took her hand in the dark when her doubts rose, and whispered reassurances that weren't rehearsed, but real. There were nights when she woke with dreams of her past, cold apartments, unpaid bills, her father's tired eyes, and Adrian would simply hold her, grounding her without words. She had learned to speak his language too. It was in the quiet cups of tea he left at her bedside before sunrise. It was in the way he read parenting books without her asking. It was in the softness of his voice when he spoke to her belly, telling the babies about code and constellations, about patience and strength. Love had grown between them, not as a sudden explosion, but like a vine climbing slowly up the wall of an old house, finding cracks, weaving through stone, taking root. Now Lily stood on the edge of something she'd once believed was impossible. Not just motherhood, but a life designed by love, not desperation. She remembered the woman she'd been when she first walked into that towering office. Worn shoes, a borrowed skirt, hands trembling around a cheap leather purse. That girl had come to trade herself for survival. She hadn't known she was worthy of more. But standing here now, barefaced and barefoot in a palace of her own choosing, Lily knew the truth. She had never just been part of a deal. She had always been someone worth choosing, not because she carried his children, but because she had the courage to be honest, vulnerable, and real. Behind her, the door creaked open. Adrian appeared, shirtless, eyes still heavy with sleep. "Why are you up?" he mumbled, rubbing his eyes. Lily smiled. "They kicked." He stepped forward instantly, kneeling and pressing his ear gently against her stomach. Hey, not without me," he whispered. "You better be practicing your coordination in there." She laughed, resting her hand on his head. "They're going to know your voice before they know light." He looked up at her, eyes shining. "I want them to know they're safe," he said softly. "That they were wanted, not just planned." Lily's throat tightened. "They'll know," she said, "because they'll see it every day." Adrian rose and pulled her close. The breeze wrapped around them like an invisible promise. "I never told you," he said, voice low. "But after that first night, when you fell asleep in my arms, I knew." "Knew what?" "That I'd never be able to let you go." She smiled into his chest. "Good, because I never wanted to go." They stood there as the morning grew brighter, wrapped in a silence made of trust. In the weeks ahead, there would be more planning. Baby showers, medical appointments, late-night cravings and early contractions, tears and laughter and fear. But they would walk through it all, not as 2 people bound by ink on paper, but as 2 souls who'd chosen each other against every odd. Because love, in its truest form, isn't made in grand speeches or perfect beginnings. It's built in the quiet moments, in honesty, in forgiveness, in the willingness to try again, even when you're scared, and in knowing that no matter how the story started, what matters most is how it ends, together. And so, from a contract to commitment, from fear to forever, Lily and Adrian found something neither of them expected, a love that wasn't just passionate, but purposeful. Their story reminds us that even in the most unconventional beginnings, love can bloom, quietly, steadily, and powerfully, when 2 hearts choose each other over and over again. Now it's your turn to share. Have you ever fallen for someone when you least expected it? Or found something beautiful in a situation that felt purely practical at first? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Your stories, your heartbreaks, your hope. Don't forget, like this video if you believe in second chances and slow burn love. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that love can come softly and change everything. Subscribe to Love and Twilights for more powerful stories that stir your heart and remind you that true love isn't perfect, it's real. Until next time, keep believing in the love that finds you when you least expect it and never lets you go.